All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Speak to the Beak. I am Tim the Ferds. We are once again coming at you on YouTube as well as on, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Clearly, I'm changing up the way we start off the show here because if you're watching on YouTube, you already know who I'm joined by. And I'm actually joined by my brother because today is going to be a football podcast. He's not good at many things, but football is definitely one of those things that he's at least semi-decent at. Just kidding. He knows his football. So that's why he's here. So Tyler, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. And I don't normally ask you that, but I guess we can be formal because we're on the podcast. Because if I saw you in person, I would just disregard you like I do every other day because I see you every single day. Yeah. So, Let's tell the people what we got coming up. We're going to do a little NFL free agency, winners and losers. We're going to go division by division. We're going to try to keep this under an hour because we know especially if you want to lose friends, your attention span is all of 13 seconds. We can't make it that short. If you're one of me and Tyler's friends, your attention span is more like 20 minutes. So we're going to do our best here to keep this short and sweet, but also give you information. But before we start that, the usual nonsense I have to go through. Number one would be you need to follow Beak Brands on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I keep saying it. You don't do it, so then I got to keep saying it. So you want me to stop saying it? Just do it. All right, that's number one. Number two is we're going to need you to subscribe and or follow to the Beak Brands channel, which is now on YouTube. So, like I said last podcast with Keith over there for baseball, some of you said it's hard listening to just audio because I guess, your brain doesn't function properly. So now here we are with video to accompany the audio, right? That would be MP4 for the people at home. And then if you're an audio person only, you can, subscribe on Apple Podcasts to the Speak to the Beak podcast, as well as on Spotify. We're there as well. Rate and review us, help us out. Even if you don't want to do that, you could tell a friend and be like, hey, these guys know what they're talking about, or they're kind of funny, or both, or neither, whatever. Just tell your friends, okay? That's number two. Number three would be check out the website, which would be beakbrands.com. All of our written content is on there. All of our podcasts get uploaded there. We have, different authors who release different articles. We have guest authors write in sometimes, so don't worry. We got plenty of stuff there for you. And I guess number four is since we're here, you can follow me on Instagram at Tim Ferdinand and on Twitter at same handle, I believe, or at Tim Ferds, one or the other. Just got to double check that. More active on Instagram, just throwing that out there. And then for Tyler, he's at tferds20 on Instagram. If you feel like arguing over something, you can tell Tyler the sky is blue. He will fight you on it. So if a Beak Brands post, you're trying to get into a fight, just at tferds20. And then you have to clear your schedule for the next 3.5 weeks because it's going to come at you full force. All right. So now that we got all that, house cleaning stuff out of the way, we're going to open up here with some, like I said, NFL free agency winners and losers. We're going to mainly stick to team winners and losers, but there are some notable players that are winners and losers in this as well. If you didn't listen to the last podcast we did with Tyler, because he has joined before, he is a fan of the Washington, formerly known as Bad Name Football Team. So just keep that in mind when he's giving you some commentary. All right, he tries to be unbiased, but sometimes, it gets a little heated in either direction. So here we go, Tyler. We're going to start off. We're going to go AFC East, work our way to the West, and then start on the West for the NFC, work our way back. Sounds good?
Sounds great.
Sounds fantastic to me. So let's start right with the AFC East. All right, so I'll go first, and we can take turns, okay? So my biggest winner is the New England Patriots for a couple of reasons. Number one, they have Hightower coming back from opt-out, which is big for them. Not related to free agency, but he's a really good player. They signed Matt Judon, who is the prototypical Bill Belichick type player. He can play kind of anywhere. He's like some hybrid linebacker / D lineman kind of guy. He'll be good for them. They brought Kyle Van Noy back, who is the ultimate Patriots player, who doesn't really have a position. He just kind of does everything. They signed Jonnu Smith. They signed Hunter Henry. They signed a bunch of receivers like Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne. Now, none of those guys are overly amazing at receiver. But like I said, the second they signed Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, I was like, they're just trying to recreate Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, except without the killing people on the side part of the deal there. They also brought back some offensive line pieces in David Andrews and Ted Karras, and they traded for Trent Brown. So that was huge for the Patriots, I think. So my only problem with the Patriots, and they also brought in Henry Anderson, which I wanted to note because the Jets let him walk, which means the Patriots will turn him into a Pro Bowler. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I brought all of this up because the only thing kind of holding them back is Cam Newton. I don't really think he's going to be their starter the whole season because how can you trust this man? He literally can't throw the ball 5 yards. So that's my big winner. And then in terms of losers, I don't really have one because I feel like every team kind of did well. So I'm going to go with Isaiah Wilson. He was traded to the Dolphins and was he was a first-round pick for the Titans in case you missed that part. Got traded to the Dolphins for a 7th-round draft pick, and they cut him a week after being on the team because he did not show up to one team workout. So he might be the biggest bum that I've ever seen taken in the first round, but that's just me. So what do you think of my 2 picks there?
All right. Well, I definitely agree with you there on the Patriots winning, but I'm going to go a little bit different there. I'm going to say the Jets are my winners. So they land their quote-unquote ex-receiver in Corey Davis coming off his 1,000-yard season, finally breaks out. For fantasy, he was last year's Devontae Parker. Pretty much is what happened there. And then the Jets upgraded majorly on defense all over the board there. And we know the Jets defense was, putrid, to say the least, there all season long. So they upgrade there. They get Keelan Cole, all right? And then Tevin Coleman's going to be a depth running back. And I think, a little side note, the Jets will end up drafting Kenneth Gainwell in the 3rd or 4th round in the NFL draft to pair there.
I just want to stop you right there. I know you love some Keelan Cole. He's like your favorite receiver to ever play football.
I actually hate Keelan Cole with a burning passion. I don't even want to get into that story right now because I could spend another 3.5 hours talking about why I do not like Keelan Cole. All right, so we're moving on from that. My loser is going to be the Dolphins because, yes, I understand they signed Will Fuller, but we know throughout his career, that man can one route and be out for 10 weeks. Okay. And then he also got suspended last year. So, he might have a problem there.
Well, that's
and then
going to carry over
else,
into the season, actually.
No, so there you go. So now you're not even going to have him to begin with.
He's suspended for the first game of the year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, that's not a good start to build chemistry.
No, it's not.
Week 1 is the most important chemistry building part of the season. You get everything going there, and then the rest of their signings was just a bunch of depth to C+ players. It wasn't really anything outstanding, I think. So those are my winners and losers here.
So the reason I didn't pick the Dolphins was because I like Matt Skura and Benardrick McKinney. Landon Roberts is pretty solid too, but yeah, Will Fuller in that offense, I don't trust Tua, so therefore I don't trust Will Fuller. But they didn't really give him much, $10 million. That's not a huge deal for Will Fuller. And then obviously they were on the short end of the stick with Isaiah Wilson, but it only cost them a 7th-round pick. I do want to note on the Jets, they did have a good offseason. I don't trust Corey Davis at all, but they did sign, for me, the big guys they signed, Dan Feeney, Vinny Curry, Carl Lawson, especially Carl Lawson. They tagged Marcus May, and they signed LaMarcus Joyner. So they had a good offseason. The problem for the Jets is that they still do not have a quarterback, which will probably come back to haunt them at the end of the day here. They're still 2 years away from being actually good, in my opinion. So they got some players that are actually NFL guys. So that's a good thing.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
But other than that, like they did well, but I don't think they're going to be good this year. But we still have the draft, so we'll see what happens. So let's slide over to the next division here, AFC North. I went first last time, so I'll let you start this one. Who's your winner and who's your loser?
All right, so my winner here is Cleveland. So everyone was complaining that, they didn't have the defense, and that was kind of the big reason why they weren't winning a lot of games. And so you went out and you signed every person you could on defense to make sure that you have a full, complete NFL team. All right. So now, Baker, you got no more excuses. You have a full team, a full roster ready to go. If you can't get them firing, then you're just not it. So my big winner here is Cleveland, because to me, it looks like they finally have a complete team, and they can actually go out and take head-to-head on every single team. My loser is going to be Baltimore, because your issues last year were offense, and you didn't address a single issue there on offense. You are the same team. You didn't add any receivers. You didn't add anything special to help your offense or improve it in any way at all. So, Baltimore seems to me like they're just stuck. They're just stuck in the same position. Like, I get it. Lamar Jackson is incredible when he is able to run freely and do what he does, because, listen, we all see it. When he runs, he is pretty much untouchable. But, did he work on his throwing? And if he did, you still didn't add anyone on the outside to help him. You're still stuck there with just Hollywood Brown.
So in terms of Baltimore, the reason I would have picked them would just because they lost Matt Judon. You can add as many receivers as you want to the team. It's not going to matter because Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball more than 7 yards, so that's irrelevant. You could have Antonio Brown in his prime and Calvin Johnson in their prime. He can't throw the ball 10 yards, so what's that going to do? But they didn't have a great free agency period yet. I feel like they're a team that could sign a bunch of secondary guys to help them out. As far as Cleveland goes, if you didn't get the gist of Tyler's thing there, he's a Baker hater, clearly. But I think Cleveland is probably the best team in the division now, top to bottom. I think Baltimore has the way Baltimore is built is kind of built to beat Cleveland. And the way Cleveland's built does not match up well with the way Baltimore plays, because they're a run-heavy team, and Baltimore is always good against the run. So I'll be interested to see who comes out of the division out of those two. And you're probably like, wow, you're going to disregard the Steelers like that? And clearly I am, because my biggest loser is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did keep Juju. He's overrated, so it doesn't really matter. They lost Filer. It looks like Alejandro Villanueva is going to be gone. Looks like James Conner is going to be gone. They lost Bud Dupree, who we're going to talk about later. They lost Mike Hilton. They just cut Steven Nelson, earlier today. We're recording on Wednesday, March 24th. So they lost a lot of guys. And this is after Cleveland played them in the playoff game and absolutely beat the living hell out of them. So I think Pittsburgh's trending down. Cleveland trending up. Baltimore more neutral for me. My biggest winner, though, is the Cincinnati Bengals. And you're probably saying, why? Or how could they possibly be your winner? I'll tell you why. One, it looks like Joe Burrow's doing well in his rehab, which is nice. They signed Riley Reif. They signed Trey Hendrickson. They signed Eli Apple, who, okay, if you live in New York, you hate him, but he's a solid player. They signed Awuzie from the Cowboys, and they signed Mike Hilton. So they revamped their secondary pretty much overnight. They picked up Reif to play tackle to help Joe Burrow not get killed. And I think Trey Hendrickson, yes, he's a one-year wonder type of guy, but the way he wins is with power or speed, so I think he fits in that division. He's a good edge setter. With that being said, I don't think the Bengals are going to be good, but if you look at their team last year, the only NFL players on their team were Joe Mixon, who got hurt, Joe Burrow, who got hurt, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, and William Jackson, who's now gone. So, I mean, they really improved their team. So they're my big winner in this division. I guess Tyler has no comments. That's all right. So we got nothing there. So let's go to the AFC South. I'm going to keep it going here. So this is where me and Tyler actually agree for the first time. So we can keep this one kind of short and to the point. Big winner here is the Tennessee Titans. Now, they did lose Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, but they brought in Bud Dupree, Janoris Jenkins, and Kevin Johnson. They brought in Danico Autry up front. So they kind of fixed their secondary a little bit, and they really, really needed a pass rush. They were dead last in pressures last year. They picked up Dupree and Autry, so I think that's good for them. So you agree on the Titans?
Oh, I absolutely do. I definitely think it gives them another physicality edge on defense on the field. I think that's definitely going to play a factor. Now you're not a soft defense, and your offense is fine. Obviously, Derrick Henry is, well, you see it on the field. He's a one-man team upon himself. I mean, you could have 9 guys on his back, and he's still going. Doesn't make any sense. So you upgrade on defense, which is what you needed to do. So I definitely agree there. Titans are the big winners.
Yeah, so, and obviously, me and Tyler, obviously, we talk every day because, we're related. But they play in probably the worst division in football. Like, because even if Trevor Lawrence would literally have to be Andrew Luck 2.0 to, like, get the Jaguars into the playoffs because, like, they're not ready to compete yet. So you can kind of discard them for, like, a year or two, maybe. Because also Urban Meyer, also unproven. The Houston Texans, I mean, okay, I don't know what the hell they're doing. And then the Colts, and that's all dependent on Carson Wentz, who has not played well recently. So I think that's another thing that kind of helps the Titans. But going back to the Texans, are they your biggest loser?
Yeah, no, the Texans are definitely my biggest loser. I mean, I don't even know what they want to do. I mean, they have David Johnson, okay, old and gets hurt. You add Mark Ingram, who's old, okay, so I don't know what you're doing there. And then Philip Lindsay, like, okay, that's a good signing, but then everything else, it's just, man, like, it's just like, what is it? Like, Tyrod Taylor, okay, is not a good signing, but other than that, I don't really see anything that pops out and makes me think that Houston turned it around in any way. I still think they're going to be a 4-12, 5-11 football team. Like, I don't think they're going to be that good.
Yeah, I mean, they they re-signed Vernon Hargraves. They signed Desmond King. They picked up Marcus Cannon in the trade with the Patriots. They got a couple of guys that can play. But the whole thing going on with Deshaun Watson makes them the biggest losers by default. But my biggest loser is not the Houston Texans. My biggest loser is Marcus Cannon and Shaq Lawson. And that's because they got traded to the Houston Texans. So they didn't even have a choice.
Yeah,
they were just like, nah, we're going to send you to the biggest dumpster fire out there. God bless you. And yeah, Shaq Lawson and Marcus Cannon are probably like, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, the two things, like, I do agree with you on, though, with the 2 wild cards of Carson Wentz and, like, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I love Trevor Lawrence, as you know, like you said, we talk every single day. Like, I think he's like the next coming of Jesus Christ. So I definitely think the Jaguars are going to be relevant this year, just solely because of him. Just because of him.
Yeah.
And also with Carson Wentz, like, if it was just Philadelphia that was the issue there, or Doug Peterson, or whatever the hell is going on there, and, like, he's not bad, and he goes back to the MVP level-ish Carson Wentz, like, it's going to be a bloodbath in that division.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to keep Jacksonville from competing is that every time they play the Titans, Derrick Henry runs for 200 yards, and Trevor Lawrence does not play defensive tackle or linebacker, so he's not really going to fix that problem.
You just got to score 50.
Yeah, clearly. So let's go to the next division. The AFC West, the home of my favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to let Tyler go first here. So, Tyler, who's your biggest winner and your biggest loser?
All right. Well, I hate to pamper you more than you're already pampered with being a Chiefs fan, but my biggest winner is definitely going to be the Chiefs because did you see the Super Bowl? Because so did I.
Unfortunately, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so did I. So that pretty much is my explanation there. I don't really need to say anything else. They upgraded at the position they absolutely needed to. That's it. Um, my loser is gonna be the Raiders, because I'll just go through their signings just so everyone can hear them, and you tell me, okay? I'll let you tell me. Kenyon Drake, like, okay, all right. Theo Riddick, John Brown, Zay Jones, Derek Carrier, Richie Incognito, Nick Morton, Denzel Good, Yannick Ngakwe, who I think is fake good, Jonathan Hankins, Quentin Jefferson, Matt Dickerson, Solomon Thomas, Nicholas Morrow, who you took from the Washington football team, who I'll tell you right now is not that good, and Nevin Lawson. So I'll let you tell me about the Raiders. So they're my biggest loser.
So let's go to the Chiefs for a second. If you're a super casual fan, you have no idea what Tyler's talking about. Chiefs signed Kyle Long. Duvernay Tardif should be back. He opted out last season. They signed Joe Thuney. They re-signed Mike Remmers to hopefully not start at right tackle. God, I hope not. But he should be our swing tackle, which is what that's good. So yeah, the Chiefs are not my winner, but I agree with what Tyler said. For the Raiders, this is more of a, what in God's name are you doing out there? All right.
I don't know.
Your team is built off of protecting Derek Carr and running the ball. All right, so you go out and you get Kenyon Drake. Like, okay, you don't need him, so I'm not sure why we're doing that. Then, well, that happened after they decimated their offensive line. They traded Trent Brown back to the Patriots. Like, I get it. He didn't play that much last year. They played other guys, but, like, he's still really good. They traded Gabe Jackson to Seattle, and they traded Rodney Hudson, who's probably the best center in the league. And if he's not the best center, he's, like, top 3 or 4. And they traded him to Arizona. So you got rid of 60% of your offensive line, which to me is foolish because you're built on running the ball. But I do want to ask you, as a Josh Jacobs dynasty owner, how sad are you?
I've really considered just driving to the nearest bridge because because of Kenyon Drake. Like, okay, that kind of really kills his value there. And like you said, trading your whole line, like what are you doing? You're supposed to give Josh Jacobs like 25 touches a game, and now he's going to be like Leonard Fournette. He's going to get 25 touches for 25 yards. He's not going to go anywhere. Like that's it. Like, I don't know what they're doing. But what you didn't mention with the Chiefs, who is the greatest pickup I think for you, Blake Bell, who you get back from the Cowboys, #1 in run blocking and pass blocking.
As a tight end, yeah. The Belldozer is back. Big fan of that. But like I said, the Chiefs are not my biggest winner. My biggest winner is actually the Denver Broncos. So John Elway is really great at being a general manager when he does not have to pick a quarterback. So they signed Kyle Fuller. They signed Ronald Darby. They still have they tagged Justin Simmons, who's the best safety in the league. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. They still have Shelby Harris, Kareem Jackson. They got Jewel. Like, that defense is really, really, really good. They should have Cortland Sutton coming back this season coming up from his ACL. They still have Jerry Jeudy. They have Noah Fant. They have Melvin Gordon. Like, on paper, the Broncos are a really good team, except at the only position that actually matters.
It matters, yeah. So, quarterback.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to turn into the Chicago Bears 2.0. But as of right now, yeah, Tyler has Noah Fant in our Dynasty League, and I have Cortland Sutton, so yeah, don't do that.
God, please.
What I'm hoping for as a Chiefs fan is that they're relevant enough to, sustain their Dynasty players, but not relevant enough to beat us. So just want to throw that out there. But they're my big winners.
I do have one question
Yeah,
for
okay.
you,
Yeah.
because I know how you are. You and Nick Wright are the same when it comes to the Chiefs. You guys are just like straight homers. Do you think, in all honesty, do you think that Denver defense can stop the Legion of Zoom at all? Maybe not stop, contain. Can it contain the Legion of Zoom?
Um, I mean, no, they haven't done it yet. Now, like I know they picked up Darby and Fuller, but everyone else I named, they've had on their team.
Yeah, we know Kyle Fuller is very good. Do you think
But
that
see,
helped? Do you
but
think that
the
can
guy
help
that
them
kills them
contain?
every time we play him is Kelsey. Is Kyle Fuller gonna guard Kelsey? No,
Who
he's not.
knows?
Is Ronald Darby gonna guard Kelsey?
That I know he's not gonna
No,
do.
that he's not gonna do. So like, so their problem is they don't have a cover linebacker, and if they do, he
Well,
can't cover Kelsey. So like,
well, okay, not a lot of. I'm gonna be honest. Not a lot of linebackers, even if they are coverage linebackers, can guard Travis Kelsey. I mean, Travis Kelsey's a cheat code.
yeah. But see,
So
what I'm worried about is that they have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and our offensive tackles are currently not on the roster / Mike Remmers, so that's not good. Um, but no, I mean, you can the Broncos' problem is that they can contain us all they want, they can't score. So I don't want to spend too much time on the AFC West. The team that worries me in the AFC West is the Chargers, who are not listed in this, but they did sign Corey Linsley, big pickup for them. But let's flip over to the NFC. So for me, I had a tie between the Cardinals and the 49ers. I'm just going to say Tyler took the 49ers, so I took the Cardinals, and I'll tell you why. They went all in on their strengths, right? So they were a top 10 or even top 5, I think, team in sacks last year, like as their defense in sacks. They added J.J. Watt. They re-signed Marcus Golden. Chandler Jones should be back. I mean, that's one hell of a pass rush right there. And then on offense, bringing A.J. Green to be the number 2 to DeAndre Hopkins. Listen, whatever you think about A.J. Green, he's obviously not the player that he used to be. But if he's your number 2, you're in really good
great
shape.
number 2.
Yeah.
Great number 2.
They also picked up Rodney Hudson in that trade with the Raiders for free. They got him for nothing. Kelvin Beachum will be back. They signed Brian Winters, so they fortified the offensive line, try to keep Kyler Murray upright. And listen, you need a really good center because you get to play against Aaron Donald 2 times a year, as well as
so fun.
the 49ers defensive front. So Hudson should be huge for them. They're my winner. My loser, because I don't really have one, is the Seattle Seahawks, mostly because they picked up Gabe Jackson, to make Russell Wilson like shut up. But other than that, like I don't feel like they really did anything that's like significant. I mean, if you look at some of their moves, I mean they picked up they re-signed Chris Carson. They signed Gerald Everett, who's like he's fake good. That's a phrase me and Tyler use there. They did get Akilla Witherspoon, help in the secondary, but they lost a corner too, who we talked about before, right? I mean with the Jaguars. So
Yep, Shaq Griffin.
yeah,
That's a major piece to lose too. That's not that's not just some depth piece.
So
that's
I
a
think
big corner.
they're the biggest loser just between the rush drama, and they're kind of a team that's like stagnant. They'll make the playoffs. I'm not worried about that. Like they're gonna get in. Russell Wilson's too good to not make the playoffs. But
yeah,
I just don't love what they did. So why don't you give me your winner and loser here?
All right. So my winner here is the 49ers, obviously, like you said. They re-signed a bunch of guys that they needed to re-sign. So Kyle Juszczyk, they re-signed. And if you watch football, you know that Kyle Juszczyk is like super vital to their offensive game plan and in their run scheme. You re-signed Trent Williams, who clearly is still one of the best left tackles in football. So I'm glad we traded him for half bag of chips. That makes me happy. So then you re-signed DJ Jones, Jason Verrett, Jaquiski Tartt, Kwan Williams. So you got a bunch of guys to stay. You also signed Alex Mack to be your center. So, the 49ers, they're my big winners. They're pretty much their whole team that they needed to stay. And they added another good piece to their offensive line. My losers here, okay, listen, before I even say it, I know I'm going to sound crazy when I say this, okay? I know I'm going to sound crazy, but my biggest losers here are the Rams. And yes, believe me, I understand that they traded for Matthew Stafford, okay? And I will go ahead right now and say that I love Matt Stafford, but in the playoffs, we don't know anything. We really haven't gotten a chance to see it. Now, is that his fault? Is that Detroit's fault? We don't know.
That's Detroit's fault. Next question.
Okay, but we don't know. The Rams also didn't have any cap space to really do anything except for the Leonard Floyd move, and then you signed Deshaun Jackson. Like, okay, I get it. That's like a postseason signing. You're going to try to use him to be a burner and all that stuff. But, I mean, just because you're so restricted in cap space and you're not really able to do much, you're my losers there. And I guess we'll see if Matt Stafford is that secret sauce, as we say, to the offense to get them to the promised land.
Yeah, I mean, of course he is. They had Jared Goff, and they're out here winning 11 games, and he literally can't throw an accurate pass more than 12 yards down the field. So I think they'll be okay.
I mean,
listen,
we'll see. We have to see it on the field.
How many games do you think the Lions would have won if they didn't have Matt Stafford the past 10 years?
Not many.
Yeah, like 2 a year. And they're like, oh, you only won like 6 or 7 games a year, but like, who's on his team?
Eventually, you would have found somebody.
Yeah,
you would have found someone who would have won you more than 2 games.
So, Tyler is a little bit younger than me, but he's not young enough to remember that all the Lions did pre-Matt Stafford was draft wide receivers because they wanted it to look cool, and then they were out here using Dan Orlovsky as their quarterback running out of the back of the end zone. So,
yeah, no, I really wish I was.
Their 3 best
really
players
at that time
in franchise history retired at 30, X for a trade because he said, I can't carry the team on my back anymore. So that should tell you all you know about the Lions. NFC South, I want to keep this like short and sweet. This is really easy. I'm not even going to ask Tyler for his commentary. The biggest winner of the entire offseason, if you tell me any differently, you don't know what you're talking about. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've literally kept every single guy as of right now, besides for Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette, that was on their team for the Super Bowl last year. They just signed Ndamukong Suh earlier today. They're bringing everybody back. They're really good. They should be the favorite in the NFC, especially the NFC South. But, I mean, the whole NFC, they're really good. All right, there's just no other way to put it. They're good. They brought everyone back. They're the winner. The loser is the Atlanta Falcons. Me and Tyler agree there. They did absolutely nothing except for sign Mike Davis, who's going to end up being a backup running back to whoever they draft. So what did they do? They did nothing. So sorry if you're a fan of an NFC South team. Don't really have much hard-hitting analysis for you because that's pretty straightforward. If you try to argue that, you're kind of foolish.
Yeah, you don't watch football.
All right. So let's go to the NFC North then. My biggest winner,
all right,
and your biggest winner is actually, we agree, the Detroit Lions. So outside of Jared Goff, which obviously we don't like, that's a downgrade from Matt Stafford to Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Why do you like what the Lions did?
All right, so, the Lions didn't go out here and make, like, any crazy splash. I mean, you got Michael Brockers in the trade
for free
with the Rams, but like you didn't go out and sign any big crazy splashy names. But like Jamal Williams is going to be amazing to pair with DeAndre Swift back there. And Brashad Perriman, if you use him the right way with his speed, can be lethal. Tyrell Williams, same thing. You added another speed receiver. If he can bounce back even a little bit, it's like 40 to 50% of what he was, he's still going to produce and give you good numbers. Josh Hill is a good, solid tight end. They just added a bunch of solid depth pieces. Alex Anzalone, it's just they added a bunch of C to C plus players that are just going to help the team be better.
So I just want to say that Romeo Okwara was like a big keep for them. He's been really good. You got Michael Brockers for a 7th-round draft pick. I mean, that's insanity. I know it was like a cap situation with the Rams, but like, geez, come on, guy. Anzalone was a good pickup.
Listen, it's a business.
Yeah, I guess so. I would have said, Michael Brockers, do you like winning or do you want to be traded to the Lions? And he probably would have said, I like winning, but I guess not. I guess he doesn't like winning. I guess he doesn't like winning.
It happens.
So my big winner, though, since we kind of split on the Lions, is actually Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure you've seen the memes. That would be because he now gets to play Jared Goff 2 times a year, Andy Dalton 2 times a year, and Kirk Cousins, who he owns 2 times a year. So Aaron Rodgers probably sitting pretty at his house, being like, yeah, all I have to do is just show up to the stadium and we'll win the NFC North. So that's good for him. Your biggest loser, though, is who?
It's going to end up being the Chicago Bears, okay? And I'm just going to say it for one reason only, okay? You still do not have a quarterback. I don't understand. What are you guys doing? You let Mitch Trubisky go, okay? Which I understand. I don't like Mitch Trubisky. I think he sucks. But then you go out and add Andy Dalton, who's this much better? And you kept Allen Robinson, but you have no one to throw the ball.
Trust me,
you still
I'm
have
aware.
A quarterback. So just for that reason alone, because you still are in the same predicament you've been in for so long, you're going to be my loser until you figure that out.
And they've also lost some guys on defense. They're looking to either trade or cut Akeem Hicks because he wants a pay raise. They already lost Kyle Fuller. So the thing that was keeping them afloat all this time is slowly deteriorating.
Gone.
Yeah, so that's not good. That's just not a good situation. As an Allen Robinson dynasty owner, I will say that I love me some Andy Dalton because Mitch Trubisky literally would be overthrowing this dude 10 rows deep into the stands. At least Andy Dalton will put it in his catching radius. It might not be accurate, but it'll be hey, I can get a hand on that. So
yeah, at least it'll be a somewhat catchable ball.
Yeah. My big loser, though, not the Chicago Bears, is actually going to be Kevin King's Twitter mentions. If you didn't watch the NFC Championship game, this guy got taken to church for 3 hours straight.
Oh, yeah.
One of them, not his fault, totally Mike Pettine's fault. Why you play in cover 1 with 4 seconds to go, you're a moron. He got cooked by Scotty Miller. But also Kevin King's fault, because I know the coach is calling a play, but why are you not playing 45 yards off this guy in a Hail Mary situation?
Yeah, that's why. That's the reason, because it's that's it. It's the last play. Just sit at the goal line. What are you doing? If they want to throw him a 2-yard slant, let him. Doesn't matter.
Mike Evans also made him look like a child, but, whatever. So I'm sure when he got re-signed, Packer Nation over there was not too thrilled with it. So I'm sure if you look at his Twitter mentions, loser for him, winner for us, because we get some good content out of that. But we're going to slide over here to the last division, the NFC East, Tyler's favorite division. I'm going to go first because I'm assuming this might take you a while. So my big winner was actually going to be Washington, but Tyler's like, no, that's my team. You got to let me have them. So I'm like, all right. So I'm going to pick the Giants. So the Giants obviously picking up Kenny Golladay, huge pickup for them. He's a really good receiver. Kyle Rudolph, allegedly in flux because he may or may not need foot surgery, but he's a good tight end. And unlike Evan Ingram, he can actually catch the ball. John Ross, really fast, good downfield receiver. I'm sure he'll be on IR by week 4, but for those 3 weeks you'll have him, he'll be good.
Sooner than that.
Adoree Jackson, good player. Leonard Williams, they probably overpaid a little bit for him, but it's hard to find guys who are really good at interior pass rush, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
If you look at his stats, he's actually 3rd in every D tackle category, or 4th, right behind Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and Fletcher Cox. So he's been playing really well. Yeah, fun fact.
Jeez.
Yeah. See, me and Tyler live in New York, so we get all that New York hate media from the Jets, and it's just not true. When he was on the Jets, he was terrible, and it's probably because they didn't know how to use him, and now he plays for another team, and he's good. So just throwing that out there. They also picked up Reggie Ragland, which I like for them, only because he's a tackle machine at linebacker. Now he cannot cover like a stick. Like if you put him in coverage, it's over. But in a division where you got to face Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, Zeke and Dak, and then Washington, who just runs the ball every play, like he should be good filling holes for the Giants. So the Giants are my winner, besides for Washington, and Tyler's going to tell you why Washington is his winner.
Yeah, so Washington is my winner because, and I'm going to have to disagree with you now when you say all Washington is going to do is run the ball, because I'm going to disagree with you. You know why? Because we got Fitz magic, baby, okay? And we know that this man is a gunslinger at heart, okay? And he's gonna hear halfback dive. He's gonna hear, nah, we're throwing it 4 verticals. Here we go. And he's gonna start flinging the ball around because that's what he does. Also you get Curtis Samuel, who I'll be honest, I don't love him, but for $7 million a year, I'm not gonna hate him. So, you get to put him alongside Terry McLaurin, so that gives you really good speed on the outside. Or if you want to play him in the slot, you can put him there and put Cam Sims, as of right now, what we have on the outside, to be a big body, or Kelvin Harmon or AGG. You rotate there out of one of those 3. We're able to keep Brandon Sheriff, which for right now in the franchise tag, which is huge because he's amazing. You guys got to pay him, Ron, okay? Whatever the hell you got to pay, and you just do it, okay? Because we need him. We get a center there, Tyler Larson, and then my brother here, Tim, actually helped me with William Jackson. He is going to be huge for us. He's going to be huge for us because we never really had a number 1 guy like that to just be like, yeah, you can go over there and go lock that guy up, and it's okay. So they're my big winner there. And then hopefully in the draft, Ron, you go trade up and get Trey Lance. But my loser is going to be Philadelphia because, they didn't really do anything special or anything really at all.
Well, they did trade Carson Wentz.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're a loser because you get rid of a quarterback and then you try to replace him with Jalen Hurts / Joe Flacco. I mean, come on. We saw Joe Flacco play last year for the Jets. What are we doing? What do we do? I mean, you're helping us.
He's on the Chase Daniel tour.
By being bad.
He's going to be a backup for the next, 3 or 4 years and just bank $5 to $10 million every season to sit on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing with Philly though. It's like, it looks like to me what Philadelphia is doing is just literally throwing the season already, and it didn't even start yet. But there's not a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or even a Joe Burrow or, even like a Baker. I don't even know if there's a guy coming out like that who you're going to be able to pick 15 or 2-14 because you're that horrendous. You know what I mean? Like, you're not even going to be able to really help your team the next year. So the Philadelphia is going to be, rebuilding for quite some time over there, trying to figure out their direction.
That part I disagree with because they do have a good team. They're just going to try to force Jalen Hurts to be good. That's the problem that I don't know if that's what's going to come up for them. Like, I just don't know if he's good. Like, he played well last year in spurts. And if you play fantasy football, he's going to be wildly overdrafted. But
absolutely,
sort of throw that out there.
Well, that's because he rushes, and if he has one of those games where he hits for like 70 yards rushing and throws for like 210 and has a touchdown in each category, it's like, all right. But then he's gonna have those. But he's gonna have those 2 games.
Yeah, for sure.
For like 90 yards.
My big loser though is the Dallas Cowboys, mostly because they didn't do anything except overpay Dak Prescott. So you can't really be a winner. Like, I get it. You need a quarterback. They kept their quarterback. He's probably like a top 12-ish quarterback, but you're paying him like Pat Mahomes money, so that right there alone is enough to make you a loser because there's only one guy worth that.
It's all their fault.
It is all their fault. They waited too long, and they clowned themselves, just like the Mets are going to do with Francisco Lindor, but that's a story for a different podcast.
Yeah, that's definitely a different story for a different podcast.
But, yeah, that's where I'm at on the Cowboys. So, I know me and Tyler, we tried to like run through each division and try to hit on some teams, winners and losers there, because obviously football off season, big deal. So, like we said to start off the show here, before I tease the next episode, we're gonna need you to follow Beak Brands, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Gonna need you just to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is Beak Brands. The podcast is Speak to the Beak on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can follow me at Tim Ferdinand. You can follow Tyler at tferds20 on Instagram. And obviously, check out the website, beakbrands.com. We got our written stuff there. We also have our podcast there as well. If you're coming back, at some point, we're going to do a little fantasy stock check on some guys that were affected by free agency or trades or both. So that's coming up in the next few weeks here. We just want to let the dust settle a little bit because there are still a lot of players out there in free agency that could really help a team. So we just wanted to kind of let the dust settle there. So Tyler, thanks for joining me. If you are here for just football content, awesome. If you're here looking for hockey, that drops on Thursdays. Baseball drops on Mondays. By the time you listen to this, we will be less than a week away from opening day. So if you're a big baseball guy, me and Keith got you covered there. So that's what we got for tonight. Until next time, we're out.
All right.